Stone in Richmond, and we're looking down the James River toward what was called Rocket's Landing in the far background. That was the furthest point up the river steam vessels could reach in terms of their draft. And beyond Rocket's, about a half a mile, is a bluff like the one I'm standing on called Drury's Bluff. And it was heavily fortified with big guns, which prevented the United States Navy from getting their gunboats any further up the river into Richmond. So at that point the river was blocked from the Union's advance. If McClellan had been able to maintain a base at Harrison's Landing, which is further down the river, it's about 9 miles from Harrison's Landing to the point I'm standing at. This is a bluff on Church Hill in Richmond. He would be coming up the right bank of the river directly in our front, trying to get up here into Richmond. And in the distance is the city of Richmond that Mr. Lincoln needs to capture. An old street in Richmond. These homes were built in the 1880s. We're on the Virginia Capitol grounds. That statue was there before the Civil War, as was this building. This is the state capitol building. Lincoln came here in April of 1865 and walked the streets, came up from Rocket's Landing on the James, and was escorted through the town by Union troops. Came up here and looked at this building. Confederate flag was taken down. Everything you see around here has been reconstructed. All these buildings all the way down to the river looked like Berlin in 1945. This building down here, this little brick building, that's a pre-Civil War building. That is a bell tower. A tocsin would sound from that little building, giving warning of any calamity that was coming to the city. Over here we have St. Paul's Episcopal Church. You can see the tower of it, the drum tower. This is St. Paul's Church in Richmond. This was the church that President Davis attended during the war. in April of 1865. He was in this seat right here when a messenger came in. During the service, a messenger came in bringing him the news that General Lee had abandoned his lines in Petersburg and was attempting to get away from Grant's army. So, there obviously was pandemonium in here, and the president got up and he left and very quickly was out of the city and on his way to Georgia. Now, all these stained glass windows are done by important artists. I think they were done in the 20s and 30s. This one is dedicated to Robert E. Lee, and it's Moses in front of Pharaoh. And I suppose the idea is that Bobby wants us to let his people go. This is a monument to Jefferson Davis that anchors Monument Avenue in Richmond. It seems to be a Latin word, vindice. Vindication, vindictive. I don't. And there's other script down along the bands of this. I have no idea what this means. Well, let's read the plaque. Well, we have a plaque with some emotional words. The Navy of the Confederate States, giving new examples of heroism, teaching new methods of warfare. It carried the flag of the South to the most distant seas. If to die nobly be ever the proudest glory of virtue, this of all men has fortune greatly granted to them. For yearning with deep desire to clothe their country with freedom, now at the last they rest full of an ageless fame. This monument is full of script. The Army of the Confederate States from Sumter to Appomattox, 4 years of unflinching struggle against overwhelming odds. That's true. Glory. Ineffable. These around their dear land wrapped around themselves the purple mantle of death. That's pretty romantic. Dying, they died not at all, but from the grave and its shadows. Valor, invincible, lifts them, glorified, ever on high. And then we have Jefferson Davis over here, exponent of constitutional principles. I agree with that. Defender of the rights of states. That's true. Here's some more. As citizen, soldier, statesman, he enhanced the glory and enlarged the fame of the United States. I don't know. When his allegiance to that government was terminated by his sovereign state as president of the Confederate States, he exalted his country before the nations. Over here we have, with constancy and courage unsurpassed, he sustained the heavy burden laid upon him by his people. That's true. When their cause was lost, with dignity he met defeat. With fortitude he endured imprisonment, almost 2 years, and suffering. With entire devotion, he kept the faith. That's true. And then up here in this pedestal, this thing is just, saturated with Jamestown, 1607. 1607, Jamestown. Then along this beam we have, not in hostility to others, not to injure any section of the country, not even for our own pecuniary benefit, but from the high and solemn motive of defending and protecting the rights we inherited and which it is our duty to transmit unshorn to our children. Jefferson Davis, U.S. Senator, January 21, 1861. Now that's true. And then we have flagstaff stanchions, probably for each of the Confederate states. It could be inserted here on a ceremonial basis. That's also reflected up here in the beam. You can see the Great Seals. That's South Carolina. Probably in the order in which these states succeeded: Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana. Virginia. Well, perhaps not in that order then. Virginia. I'm a peaceful person. I'm walking by myself and I'm not worried about anything. I'm not bothering anybody. It's simple. I want people to remember that I'm peaceful. More script on the back. Erected by the people of the South in honor of their great leader, commemorating their love for the man, their reverence for his virtues, their gratitude for his services. I stand for myself and my family and my cousins. I like playing all kinds of sports and being with family. I love soccer and football and baseball. This cannon marks the spot where in 1861 a large earthwork of the inner line of defense was constructed. A large earthwork of the inner line. We are deep into Richmond. We are way, way deep into Richmond. The stars represent me making a wish to become a doctor. I dream at night, and when I wake up, there is a rainbow representing my dream coming true. For me, painting is essentially about embracing change and impact in space. Through slow or determined marks, exuberant or demure color, paint reflects the tangible, the real, the human. My aim is to capture the most intimate aspect of a relationship. What happens when we uncover in others what they themselves mask. What we choose to see and how and what it feels like to bear it all. I like these colors. I feel like I did a good job and like nobody else could do this painting. Only me. This is coming from me. I want people to see how I dance and how I feel and how I put my heart in it. I am a visual artist and performance poet. I have 2 working ears, 2 working eyes, and 1 mouth. Thus I listen and observe more than I speak, so that when I speak, the images I visually and verbally create are concise and profound. In this painting, I celebrate my identity. I am a black person, harboring a spectrum of colors in my skin. I am inherently fascinated with our moon and sun, and like the sun, every day I rise to the music of my heart, the undying drum. We're on Monument Avenue. This is a statue of General Lee. There's several others along this avenue. They were all erected in the 1880s, which was the heyday of this town. Down here is Jeb Stuart, so we have a lot of romance. This is taller than the monument to Lee at Gettysburg. Actually, it's a Virginia monument at Gettysburg.